what is it we're doing here as parents? Like, what's our purpose? Are we just living in the moment? Do we have a plan towards what our kids should be doing in the future? How should we look at this from a generational perspective, looking back at what our moms and dads did, looking forward to our grandchildren, and understanding that there's a current that runs through all of our families that gives us a uniqueness, a wonderfulness, but it also gives us some bad things. And as we kind of look at this all, there's also an element of man and woman, male, female. We have differences to us that's different than just our plumbing, just different than our body parts. There's actually a psychological difference. Obviously, there's a hormonal difference. How we think and how we attach to our children is very different. I had this kind of amplified yesterday because I got into a discussion with a couple. They're no longer together. It really highlighted the difference of moms and dads because they don't have each other in the same house to temper one another. So it's got mom's house and her energy, dad's house and his energy, and what comes with being a mom and dad. I had to talk to both of them a little bit about what an archetypical parent is because in my perspective, we're not just here like lotto balls flying through the sky in some random way, hoping we'll land with our feet up and our heads towards the sky and good things will be happening. I'm much more of a creationist, that there's a purpose, there's a divineness to life. That would mean that there's just a base core to how we should behave as a mom or a dad that's wired into it. This is not just how we should behave, but it's actually who we are, and our behavior is an expression of who a man or woman is as a parent. It doesn't matter if you were born 1,000 years ago, if you were born on the other side of the world today, there's still a sameness to being a mom or a dad. I really like the idea that moms are attachment and dads are separation. And so you really saw this in this household because we had that lack of buffering, as I had said earlier. When we look at what we're doing with our kids and where we're going with our kids, again, if you believe that there is a divine path or we're not just random lotto balls flying through the sky and hoping to have good things happen to us just because of the randomness of it all, we're really trying to get our kids to become contributing members of society, great partners, able to listen, love, engage with the children, continue to amplify all those good things that our mom and dad gave to us, continue the path of healing all those bad things that mom and dad gave to us. How do we get there? How do we get our kids from here to there without destroying them in the process? Because obviously mom and dad, we can do a lot of good, but we can also do a lot of bad. That element of attachment and that element of separation has some kind of human personality, if you want to put it to it. On one side, on the mom side, is we have a nurturing mom, a mom who recognizes that her child is hers to nurture and love and enjoy and also push forward towards that child's own greatness and self-satisfaction and participation as an individual, sovereign individual. And so the mom in this nurturing way is able to control her fears, is able to control her anxiety, what might happen to this child as they move through life. Obviously, that is a big monster to control, to say, I understand I have a lot of this fear. I have to hold it in. If you have to go get therapy, you have to talk to your friends. If you have to go exercise, you have to write, whatever your way of just dispelling that energy is, you engage in it. So when your child hits a developmental milestone, you're not fearful about letting them do what they're designed to do. You don't want to steal their essential soul because you are scared. So a nurturing mom will say, it's time to learn how to climb on monkey bars. And I know you might break your arm, leg, hit your head, get a concussion. It's time to go play a sport you love and you might get hurt. I have some kids in my practice who are competitive motocross riders, an absolutely insane sport. He's broken a lot of bones. Parents let him go forward because that's his passion. That's his love. And so we have to say, if you're going to be a nurturing mom, you have to recognize the milestones that a child goes through starting after birth, and they start hitting milestones all the way out until adulthood and beyond. We're here to support them on their journey. It's the mom's sacrifice of herself to give of herself, because the child's of her, to let the world have its way with the child and the child to have its way with the world. Only then can mom meet her fullest satisfaction, as opposed to the devouring side of the maternal energy. And that would be that she lives in her fear, and that fear takes over her and controls her, and she uses her station as a mom to create and hold an authority over the child, so the child is afraid to ask what they need for, or becomes very rebellious, isn't given the space to become who they're supposed to be. They're not allowed to climb on the monkey bars. When we're in that devouring side, when we're controlling and we're fearful and we're living in our fear that we don't want the child to go and do things, as they gain that maturation to engage in different activities, you can't climb on the monkey bars. I have to stay really connected to you in this enmeshment form because it makes me scared not to have me feel that there's a completeness with you. It's almost like a codependency. And the child then can't go forward and engage with the world and get challenged and learn where their limits are and learn where their pitfalls are. They're not given the opportunity to find where their excitement lies because it would scare mom. And I think of the Pink Floyd song, Mommy's going to put all her fears into you. So it's a very real energy. As you mother, you want to stay cognizant that you have the ability to move between these two ends. And you want to make sure that you're staying conscious and using some sort of framework. Again, if you believe in a kind of controlled path forward because there's a purpose and a sovereignty to it, you use the child's milestones to say, this is when we should do this next part. Even if it makes me feel uncomfortable, I want to enjoy in your excitement, in your sense of living your life. When you go into those negative spaces, such as like when you're sleepy or you're sick or you're overwhelmed, that you'll have a tendency, obviously, to go towards the dark side. It's the same for men and women. I'm kind of doing a completeness of my talk here on the female side. What do you have to do? Because you're a role model of the kids. What do you have to do to get out of that negativity, that devouring side, and back into that nurturing side? That's where you have consultations. You talk to your friends. You talk to a therapist. You talk to a pediatrician. You do self-help. You really find out where it is, what steps you have to do to get from the downside to the upside, going over to the dad side. Dads, when they're in their healthy energy, are wise. The Solomon's wisdom. They take the perspectives of all the stakeholders, all the people in the house, as much as they can. Everybody that would be subject to the consequences of the decision that the dad's going to make. And he really looks at it from a 360 position where he'll look at the child, he'll look at the mom, he'll look at the siblings if they're siblings, he'll look at himself, he'll look at where that child's development is, he'll look at that child where they are in society, maybe what their friend group is, what external influences are going on, what's grandma and grandpa, cousins, what health issues might be involved. So there's a lot of things that you have to just stop and look at. When the dad makes that decision, obviously the child then says, well, I understand that you're teaching me how to separate. And to be able to separate is to look at all of these things, not just from an objective standpoint, but also from the heart standpoint. Because again, we enjoy life through our heart. We don't enjoy life through our head. So the dad has to make sure that he's not living in his head all the time. And so the dad then teaches the child how to go forward in the world, how to have conversations with people outside of the house, how to incorporate everybody in the house and move the house forward, how to have a beautiful relationship with mom, how to appreciate mom and her sacrifices and acknowledge her fear, pay attention to his own needs, just like mom has to. And then the child will have an appreciation for, again, healthy boundaries, learning how to distinguish fear from fact, learning how to live with the heart while also recognizing that we have to live with our head, our logic, our kind of culture, our past. But when the dad's not in that good state of mind, again, it could be because they haven't faced their own fears, because there were childhood traumas that he hasn't faced, post-childhood traumas that are significant that also affect the dad. The dad has to make sure he doesn't become tyrannical, because when the dad's on the dark side of his energy, he's a tyrant. He demands it his way. He uses his force, voice, size, temper to insist on his way. Obviously, for children, that could be terrifying. For a wife, that could also be terrifying. And then you have to imagine your kids going forward and thinking that this is how you engage with the world. So the dad has to make sure that he also does his soul search. He finds out what his triggers are, what happened to him in his past that gives him that state of mind of living in his fear. So the child only knows a difficult way of separation going forward. We have beautiful opportunities that we can, on a daily basis, wake up and say, you know what? That was me at a different time. I now recognize that I have this beautiful instruction inside of me that's not just mine, but a gift to my kids. And it's a gift to everyone, because that's part of the divineness of being sovereign, of not just being some random chance that we got here kind of experience. Know that there's actually a great path forward for all of us if we dive into our shadow side, if we look at what our parents gave us that was good and bad, look to see how we have adopted the bad side, amplify the good side, but also make sure we understand the bad side. And it's very painful. Our children are an opportunity for us to re-engage our childhood and to re-experience those feelings, which is why we have that kind of dark side to us when we have that. And that's why it's so hard for us to kind of acknowledge it's there. And this is part of the transition into this wholeness. It's really hard to acknowledge it because it's so deeply wired into us. We've been doing it for so many years. You can't even see it. Your primal tribal filter keeps you from seeing it because that tribal primal interpretation of the world is pre-logical. It is the underpinnings of our feelings, and it keeps us trapped in a cage. And so it's very painful to get out of that cage. It takes a lot of work, years. But once you get to that point and you do it, time, healing become irrelevant. You rewrite the past once you're able to communicate to wife, children, coworkers, friends, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody. And because you've done it to yourself. It's that thing that we all recognize when the truth is spoken. It just hits like a gong. And there's nobody that can make that not exist. Thanks for watching.